I would ask you to join me in welcoming our guest speaker, Jim Renacci.
Thank you, Chairman Smell, and thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you here this evening. I've got to tell you, I see a lot of familiar faces out there. Wayne County has actually been a county that, of course, I've traveled in, so I appreciate seeing all the friendly faces. But this evening, again, I want to thank you for having me. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you this evening about a great American, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln is someone I have long admired, and just for what he accomplished, not just for what he accomplished as a president, but for what he achieved in life and the embodiment of the American dream. Like Lincoln, I too came from a family of very modest means in the Midwest. A family that was very rich on values, despite the fact that we were also very poor. Coming from that background, Lincoln's success in life has always been an inspiration to me, and I'm honored to be here tonight as we celebrate his legacy and his service to America. Lincoln was not only one of America's finest presidents, but he was also one of the most exceptional Americans to grace our country's rich history. His life and legacy still serve in many ways as a symbol of the challenge and achievements that have defined America. And as our country faces some of the most daunting challenges of our time, there is perhaps no better lessons to guide us forward than the lessons of Abraham Lincoln. As we know, during his presidency, Lincoln was charged with governing over some of the most trying times America has ever faced. During the days of Lincoln, we were a nation fiercely divided, a nation plagued by war, and a nation whose very existence was fraught with uncertainty. His leadership and achievement during those difficult days have long been praised, but to fully understand and appreciate the wisdom of Lincoln, the president, you have to understand Lincoln, the American. In many ways, Lincoln represents the story of America, the story of a common man, armed with nothing more than values, discipline, and ambition, who rose from the humblest of beginnings to achieve historic greatness at a time when the world around him needed it most. He was born in a one-room cabin, as we all know, in Kentucky in 1809, to a family of very modest means, raised with none of the advantages that you might assume would befit a future president. Lincoln received only 18 months of formal education during his life, relying almost entirely upon his dedication and discipline to educate himself. By age 28, he had taught himself to become a successful lawyer and had launched a political career. Lincoln was a strong believer in the virtues of personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and policies that fostered economic growth. He philosophically opposed the abusive consolidation of power in government, particularly in the executive branch. And he was also well known for the opponent of slavery, an institution that he described as a monstrous injustice and wholly inconsistent with the principles on which this country were founded. It was on that message of restoring liberty to the people and accountability to the government that Lincoln became the first Republican president of the United States of America. As President Lincoln was forced to tackle some of the most difficult issues any leader has ever had to face. Raging war within our borders, rampant economic strife, and widespread civil unrest. Challenges that could have easily overcome any man or any president. But rather than running from those troubles that plagued our country or shifting the blame to those that came before him, Lincoln embodied and embraced true leadership and ultimately risked his own life to further the cause of protecting and preserving the greatness of America. To this day, Lincoln's success in restoring unity to a nation divided and stability to an economy shaken by uncertainty stands as a shining example of the ability of a common man to accomplish uncommon things. Lincoln was not only a great American president, he was a great American who overcame incredible hardships in his own life and in our country to achieve historic greatness for both. And almost 150 years, if we think about it, have passed since those dark and difficult days for this country. But history does have a way of repeating itself. And once again, we find ourselves living in an America plagued by war, ripped apart by division, and mired in uncertainty about our future. As we collectively search for a path forward and seek to restore prosperity, ingenuity, and strength that has defined this great country throughout its history, I believe the lessons of Lincoln can once again serve us well. The lesson that our country and our government is often better served not by powerful men born of affluence, but often by common men born into struggle. Men and women who have fought these fights before and who have demonstrated their commitment to America through their values and not through their vanity. The lessons of Lincoln is the lesson of America. And as we forge ahead as a nation, this is the lesson we must not forget. As we are aware, this last year has been a difficult one for our country. In the past 12 months, we've seen our economy sink into a state of despair. Unemployment has skyrocketed across the country, and particularly here in Ohio. And as more and more of our jobs have disappeared, we've seen our government sink our nation further and further into a devastating amount of debt. At the same time, we continue to face mounting challenges to our national security, both at home and abroad. And American soldiers remained entrenched in 2 wars on 2 fronts, and our current leaders in Washington care little to talk about that. And as billions of Americans remain jobless, and thousands of soldiers grow tired, and trillions of dollars go wasted, our leadership in Congress continues to turn a deaf ear and a blind eye to the problems that are crippling our country. While Americans cry out for more jobs, Washington offers job-killing taxes. While Americans demand security from terrorists, Washington hires them attorneys. While Americans clamor for less spending and smaller government, Washington doubles the debt and takes over our businesses. We have a president in the White House and leadership in Congress who seem to believe that the only cure for the ills of bad government is more bad government. And as our nation's problems compound with each passing day, our government continues to silence and ignore the will of the American people, and we drift further and further away from Lincoln's vision of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people.